Hey friends, today I'm gonna share my complete Python tech stack which helped me earn in 6 figures. This is the tech stack which got me started with freelancing in around 4 to 5 months of time during my college years, and it gave me a side income that I used during my college time to spend on whatever I liked freely, and it even helped me get a great remote job at the end of my college. And this journey was kind of unexpected. I did not really expect that I could earn this much from my Python skills, but it kind of did, and I'm gonna share my tech stack and the services that I provided to my clients along with some tips on how you could get started with Python and reach among the top developers that are earning high. Now, before I go into more technical stuff, I'd like to share what I actually work on as a Python developer and why I choose this specific field. For those who are new to this channel, I'm a Python and data extraction expert, which is a subfield of Python. And the reason for choosing this field was when I started Python, I did a course by an instructor named Ardit Souls, and in that course, he had covered more than 10 subfields of Python. And among those 10 subfields, this was one of the subfields that I personally liked a lot. I found it very fascinating that a program that I create automatically goes to a specific website and gets thousands of rows of data or even millions of rows of data in an Excel or CSV file. Also, each website will try to block us from doing it. And trying to make our program behave as a human was something I found very interesting, challenging, and also very fun. Along with this, I had also noticed that since like every business needs data to grow, the demand for web scraping gigs on freelancing platforms was very high, and so there was a good overlap between my liking and the market needs, and I went on to get an expertise over this specific subfield. And the tech stack I had to learn to be able to build any complex project that came on my way is as follows, and starting with the first one in my tools arsenal is Scrapy. Scrapy is a web scraping library that allows you to scrape thousands of rows of data asynchronously or parallelly, and has different features like you can control the speed of scraping to prevent getting blocked, add any proxy rotations easily. Then proxy rotations means changing your IP with each request. Then it also allows you to save data in JSON, CSV or Excel format with just one command and much more. Essentially, it's a great library that simplifies large scale data extraction. I first started my journey of scraping websites with something called Beautiful Soup and Request Library, which are also Python libraries, but then I tried it for my first client who gave me sample work to complete before giving me entire project, and I actually got failed trying that, cause the reason was Beautiful Soup and Request were not really enough to scrape that website which had JavaScript enabled. And so after research, I found that I'll have to learn something called Scrapy, Splash and Selenium. So I learned all three, Scrapy, Splash and Selenium. Now in this, Splash and Selenium are the main libraries or tools which are easy to connect with Scrapy and allow scraping dynamic websites. By dynamic websites, I mean those websites which have JavaScript enabled. They kind of behave like a real browser, and this can be used for scraping data from websites that need JavaScript, and also when you need to perform like user interactions in a project, such as like filling out forms or clicking or typing or logging in and more automation related stuff. But yeah, nowadays I don't see many developers using Splash, to be honest, since it's kind of difficult to set up and takes time to test as well. Usually nowadays many developers, including me as well, use other headless browsers like Puppeteer, Playwright and more. Even Selenium is getting outdated now since it's easy to identify a Selenium browser, and good websites are able to block Selenium based browsers easily. But yeah, you can get started with it, and switching on to other headless browsers is quite easy. Now moving on to next, to overcome the anti-bot bypass mechanism of different websites, I had to also learn various steps, which is not kind of a tech stack but a skill which could be called anti-bot evasion techniques, where you configure all the parameters in your script which make your automated browser behave like a real human controlled browser. Now this could involve various steps like rotating your IP via separate proxy provider, like let's say WebShare, there are many of them. Then browser fingerprinting, which involves configuring parameters exactly same as real browser, then adding proper headers, then CAPTCHA solvers as well, and more. I have covered some of these ways to prevent getting blocked when web scraping in one of my YouTube videos, which you could check out. I'll link it at the end of the video, somewhere here or here, in case you are interested. And now let's move to the next tools. Then the next tools in my tech stack are other Python libraries, such as Pandas, selenium-stealth, webdriver-manager, mysql connector, math, JSON, times, CSV, and much more. Now, it's kind of impossible to mention the different Python libraries that I've used in my projects, cause I have done hundreds of different projects and each project kind of involved a new library. In Python, there is almost a library for every use case, and so you can take the benefit of third-party libraries to complete your projects. Before starting to work on projects, you can divide it in different steps and see if you can complete any of them with a third-party Python library, which you could check via simple Google search or by asking AI like ChatGPT. I still do this in my projects. As a Python developer, you have to get used to understanding any new Python library fairly quickly by kind of reading its docs, or you could pass the docs to ChatGPT and ask it to create the code for you to do the specific thing you need. Now let's come to my favorite data extraction third-party services that I personally use a lot. So speaking about third-party services, there are many, and some of my favorite ones are Zite, then Zenros, which handle the anti-bot bypass mechanism for me so that I don't need to worry about configuring it on my own in headless browsers or my scripts. And other more services that I personally use a lot are like CAPTCHA and CapSolve as well for solving hard CAPTCHAs which appear every time when doing a specific step. Now there are various kinds of CAPTCHAs like Google reCAPTCHA version 2, version 3, then Edge CAPTCHA, Cloudflare Turnstile, and so many more. And these CAPTCHA solvers help us solve those specific CAPTCHAs. Now, I personally use these third-party services instead of building it on my own, cause many a times you need to build the scraping or automation project fast for clients. And also it should be scalable and you want to make the least updates over time. So in such cases, you can use third-party paid services like Zite or Zenros, which are API services, and you can do complex automations also in them, like logging in, filling up form, or more in them. And they are scalable for thousands of requests. I'll link all of this in description in case you are interested. Now coming to my next tool in my tech stack is AWS Serverless for scalability. Now AWS has many amazing services like Lambda functions, API gateway, EC2 server, then S3 storage, DynamoDB database, and more, which can be effectively used for complex and large-scale automation projects that work for thousands of users. So it can be very beneficial to learn these services and add them to your arsenal. It may take you around a month to get familiar with all of the services of AWS Serverless, but it can be highly beneficial not only for web scraping and automation projects, but also to handle any backend related web development work. I have built complex SaaS projects like GatoData and TubePro.ai and more websites, and most of my backend infrastructure is built with serverless architecture, and so it's highly recommended to learn it as a developer. For some of my large clients, I have built scalable automated solutions on it as well, which runs for around 2 million plus requests per month right now and for thousands of users. Being able to provide that kind of solution scalably in a cost-effective way gave me the most earning, since not everyone is able to do it. So learning AWS Serverless could help you do it. Now, when building any project for clients, it's not always important to provide just any solution, but give a solution which is viable for business considering cost and time. For example, let's say if a client wants to build a scalable automated solution for thousands of users in around 1 month of time. Now, here I won't suggest him to build a complex scalable architecture with queues on EC2 server, which is definitely possible, but it would take around 3 months of time at least, and most of the time it would take even more considering the testing time and debugging as well. So in such cases, I would possibly integrate third-party services which are cheap and can get the things done much faster. And in parallel, I'll develop such infrastructure which is better for long-term and cheaper. So yeah, this was my major tech stack. But I still know a lot of other stuff which is difficult to cover it in this video since it's different from project to project. I have also built Chrome extensions for my clients which have been used by thousands of users. But those skills I learned over time. But you could research a bit on what tools would be great fit for your project when starting a new one, and take it one by one, and also not being overwhelmed, cause it's kind of a lifelong game and you will continue learning even if you're like 30 years in your journey. If I had to share one thing from my years of journey, I'll say get used to learning new stuff that's needed to complete the project, and no one can stop you from growing and earning huge money. And that's it. Hope you found this video useful, and in case you like this video, I think you'll love this video as well, where I share how I would learn Python in case I was starting today. Thanks and see you in the next video.